quiz. I want you to tell me what this image is. Take a moment, think it in your mind, write it down, maybe shout it out awkwardly and freak out the people in your house right now. First, let's address one of the thoughts that I guarantee you've had, and a thought that I guarantee has limited your motivation and your desire to do well in school. And it is this question: when will I use this? When will I ever need to solve quadratic equations in my life after high school? When am I ever going to need to care about who Boo Radley is in To Kill a Mockingbird? When am I going to read fiction like this again in my life? In this video, I'm going to share with you a very simple mindset flip that not only will increase motivation to learn, but will also improve your performance in any class you are in. Have you figured it out yet? What is this image? Now, this is an example of one of those images that if you zoom in too close, it's really hard to tell what it is. So you have to zoom out and get the bigger picture. This is exactly what we need to do when we are looking at content and wondering, when am I ever going to use this? See, here's the challenge. So often we just focus on the content itself, and we instantly make a decision that this is not going to be useful. I'm not going to need to understand the plot line of this story. I'm not going to need to understand how these two chemicals combine together. That's not going to help me in life. But the reality is, embedded in every single content, every class, is an outer layer of skills you are developing. So maybe you won't do this specific mathematical equation again in your life, but you develop a skill of analyzing problems and thinking critically. Maybe never will you have to worry about the plot line of To Kill a Mockingbird, but in reading it, you develop a deeper understanding of human empathy, human psychology, conflict, and I guarantee you, you will need to understand human psychology and conflict later in your life. Now, the reality is that no matter what your class, there is always embedded four of the most critical skills that you will need in your future: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. So if the content is smacking you in the face and you're like, I'm never going to use this, zoom out a little bit and look for these 4 C's, because I promise you they are there. Now, there's an even greater outer layer, which is, how can I use these skills to help other people? How can I use this to be creative, or to collaborate, or to think critically about the problems that we're dealing with in society? So this seems like a simple mindset flip. Does it actually work? And there is evidence that it does. In one study, researchers took high school science students and randomly split them into 2 groups. Students had no idea what group they're in, even the teachers had no idea what group they were in. Now, before each unit test, students would be given one of 2 prompts. The control group was given a prompt to just reflect on what they learned over the unit. The experimental group was asked to think about, how can the content from this unit help you or other people in society? Now, students only wrote for 2 or 3 minutes. They weren't taught differently at all. They weren't given different tests, different problems, different scenarios, but they had different results. For the students who were asked to think about how the content could help them or others, the white bar on this graph, they performed better than the control group. In fact, they increased on average 1 letter grade higher than students who weren't asked to make those connections. The only difference between these 2 groups is that students thought on their own, how can the content from this help me or others? So the next time you're wondering, when am I ever going to use this? Try not to get stuck with that close-up vision. Instead, outframe a little bit. Because understanding the value of what you're doing is the spark you need to not only increase your motivation, but increase your connection and your performance in any class you're in.